The American presidency was never meant to be easy. It was designed to test character, to stretch ambition, and to demand sacrifice beyond imagination. But what happens when men who never sat in the Oval Office find themselves shaping its very soul? That is where Anthony Scaramucci and Jared Cohen step into the story, two unlikely figures whose journeys collided with power, history, and the weight of a nation still wrestling with its identity. Anthony Scaramucci, the brash Wall Street financier, never imagined that one day his name would be tied to the inner workings of the White House. Known for his charisma, sharp tongue, and unapologetic confidence, he was often misunderstood. Behind the bravado was a boy from Long Island, raised in a middle-class family, who believed in the American dream so fiercely that he refused to quit even when others mocked him. His rise through finance wasn't just about money. It was about proving to himself, and to the world, that anyone, regardless of where they came from, could earn a seat at the table. On the other hand, Jared Cohen was the thinker. Unlike Scaramucci's fiery presence, Cohen's strength was in his intellect and vision. A policy mind, a historian, and a man who believed in using knowledge as a weapon for progress, Cohen carved out a role as an advisor, a strategist, and eventually, a guide for how technology and power would intersect in the 21st century. He wasn't chasing attention, he was chasing impact. His dream wasn't to sit in the Oval Office but to shape the ideas that presidents would one day carry forward. Their paths crossed in a moment of political turbulence, when America was questioning itself. The presidency, once seen as the untouchable symbol of democracy, had been battered by partisanship, scandal, and division. Both men, coming from very different walks of life, recognized that the institution itself was in danger. Not because of one man or one election, but because the foundations of trust and purpose were cracking. Scaramucci brought his raw energy, his unapologetic honesty, and his ability to cut through noise. Cohen brought history, strategy, and the wisdom to remind America where it had come from and where it might still go. Together, they began a conversation not just between themselves, but with the country about what it truly meant to build and rebuild the American presidency. But it wasn't easy. Scaramucci faced ridicule for his brief stint in the White House. He had been mocked, dismissed, and labeled as a failure. Yet he refused to let those scars define him. Instead, he used his experience as proof of how corrosive politics had become and why honest, messy, human voices were necessary in leadership. Cohen, meanwhile, faced his own struggles. In rooms full of powerful men and women, his ideas were sometimes drowned out. He wasn't the loudest voice, but he had to learn to be the most persistent one, to never stop pressing the case that history mattered, that the